As a sovereign nation, Nigeria has evolved over the years since it got its independence on October the 1st, 1960. As the nation celebrates its 59th independence anniversary, it's with mixed emotions. There is the hope that things will get better, juxtaposed with a state of despair. Well, the feeling of despair might have now been heightened with the tales of wars and retrogression put forward by many leaders of thoughts and analysts. Hello and welcome to Standpoint. I'm Ibrahim Shita. I have two guests with me to discuss how Nigeria has fared at 59. Political analyst Curtis Adigba believes there is much reason to celebrate, but Femi Lawson, a public affairs analyst, doesn't think so. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Well, let me start with you, Curtis Adigba. Since the early week we marked the 59th independence, the narratives have been very, very melancholic, and so many Nigerians think that there is no reason for us to celebrate. Do you also believe so?
Well, I don't think so, because building a nation, a sustainable nation, where citizens are happy being citizens of that country, is a progressive work.
Right.
You know, and I say to people all the time, you cannot look at the United States and say it's a failed nation. But they have got their own specific challenges. But you know what? The other thing they do and do better than all the nations of the world is that they are very aspirational. And so they tell you, we are working towards a perfect union. After 250 years, they're still not there. And so to talk about Nigeria, a country that is 59 years old, you know, after independence, that has come against so many headwinds, some natural, some deliberate, some political, some invented. And to say that after 59 years we have failed, you understand? Look, and I think the people who make these comments are entitled to their opinion, but they are not entitled to their facts. You can hold your opinion, but you cannot twist the facts, because you don't have entitlement to your facts.
Okay.
Facts are in public domain, and so I think we are going to have.
We'll try to
have conversation.
We establish
Yes.
some of these facts that
Thank
you
you.
have as regards why we should celebrate. But you feel there is nothing to celebrate. There's nothing. There's no reason for us to celebrate. How do you see
nothing
that?
really to celebrate, and I think I want to pick it from one very common point that he made, and it's just about, we are always very quick as Nigerians, particularly our leaders, to make reference to the United States and want to analyze our challenges and, try to justify the situation that we have found ourselves today as a nation. But I've always not been of that school of thought. I haven't been privileged to have also traveled to some other countries that are not the United States, and I haven't also been able to read, almost on a daily basis about development in other countries that are some far below, the quality, the standard of Nigeria. When you talk about how far they have come, and you begin to ask yourself, are there no countries that have been independent for 30, 26 years, 40 years, that have done greatly well? And at 59, we now look at a country of 250 years.
Give us an example.
How fair was the United States by the time they were 59? Was the United States of America at 59 a country where over 60 million adults don't have bank accounts, where poverty becomes the domicile, becomes a national identity, and some of that? So I think there's really nothing to celebrate, because a lot of our people have hope being dampened almost on a daily basis.
Okay,
and is it to actually measure how far we have come, I think will not be enough from the point of the middle class or people who are in the privileged position of leadership today.
Right.
You are a journalist and you go to the street almost every day. Feel the pulse of the ordinary people who constitute the majority of our population. You know that 59 years is nothing to celebrate about.
Let me still stay with you. Our economy seems to be going on course now. During his Independence Day speech, President Muhammad Buhari says, and I quote, is that his government is planning to accelerate sustainable and inclusive economic growth. Do you find it very refreshing looking at the new economic team that has just been inaugurated?
I've had successive government make similar speeches since 1999, if I am going to put it short, and if you look at the new Economic Advisory Committee constituted by the president, is made up of the bulk of people who had at one time or the other been involved, in various economic groups, policy making and the likes in Nigeria. And I think Nigerians are tired of promises. The statement of the president is promissory, is trying to give hope. But the truth is that for a country that has been under democracy since 1999 till now, particularly when Nigerians were given a promise of change in 2015, till now, one would have expected some practical, change from the past, not by the virtue of, promissory notes and this kind of independence or democracy day speeches that Nigerians have always been fed with.
All right, Curtis Adigba, let us see some of the things that you feel, that you feel we need to celebrate.
I think there are some Nigerians who believe or think that running a government is like a magic wand. Just take a handkerchief and then fling it, and miracles happen or magic happen. Nobody runs a government that way. There are clearly fundamentals of governance that people want to see. And when you say we cannot make examples of our country with others, don't forget that we are not a small pool of water somewhere in an isolated part of the world that nobody knows about. The world has become a global village. So you cannot talk about how well other countries are doing, and then you benchmark them using our country and how it has failed, and then you say we cannot talk about them where they are doing well or where they've had the same kind of challenges. Why moving to where they are?
Let me bring this to you while you're responding. Workers are still, looking forward to the government to fulfill its own part of the, implementing the new minimum wage. But the question has always been, even despite signing these into law. So, should we still be talking about these at this age?
Look, I think the issue of workers and their wages is a fundamental issue. But here's the problem. It has got to do with the political will of those that are running the government. And if we don't summon that courage to do what is right, we're going to continue to have this issue. First and foremost, I don't even believe that what the workers are asking for is a living wage. $30,000 is less than $100 today. And of course, if you're a parent, you have 2-3 kids, you are earning $30,000 or even $40,000.
Okay, so what is the point you're making with this?
The point I'm trying to make is this. Do all the government, the levels of government that we have in the country, do they need the number of work people that they have on their payroll? And are they involved in productive activities, okay, to justify the number that we have? And so the point I'm making is, why don't we have an approach whereby government at all levels will decide or determine the actual workforce that they need, based on the resources that they have, engage them and pay them well.
Okay, so
now, this issue of the labor union saying you cannot sack people even when they are not contributing anything to governance. You must keep them and then you must pay them. You understand? That's where the solution lies.
That being said, so many other things to really explore. Could you also, in one way or the other, kind of, in a very nutshell, highlight some of the reasons why we should say Nigeria is getting there?
Okay, we have not gone to where we should be, but we definitely know where we used to be. And let me talk in terms of the last 20 years.
Right.
There are a lot of things that the government is doing that people don't appreciate. And the reason why they don't appreciate is because of the enormity of the problem. Okay? The biggest problem we have in this country, and I've always said it, you can talk about government policies not imparting on the lives of the people. You can talk about lack of infrastructure. You can talk about people not being able to put food on their tables. But there's one issue that is key to all this.
What is that?
That's corruption in this country. Do you know of any country where stealing of public funds is a routine, like it is in Nigeria? Where we have budgets to build roads, to build hospitals,
right,
to build education, to provide basic things for our people. And yet these funds are stolen. by
So,
those
so,
in
so,
charge.
so, in a nutshell,
And then
you
people
feel,
expect.
you feel
And
that
what progress
corruption.
have we made?
I'm
So
coming to
I'm
you.
coming to that.
No, no. Let me take it from you now. Now that you believe that, fine, we've moved from where we used to be,
Yeah.
and then we are still on the move. But you also admit that corruption is the bane that has affected.
I said, it's the major problem. So I was just going to talk about why we need to fight corruption and what the present government
Quickly
is doing.
make that point because I need to take that. I need to take it to
Now,
him.
the point I'm trying to make is that we had problem of corruption, whether you like it or not. Okay? People can go out there and muddle the water and say, oh, you know, this corruption fight is sectional, it's religious.
Right.
Somebody is protecting his party members and all that. I have always made this point, that the defense of a man who is accused of corruption should be, I am innocent of the charges.
Okay.
And not that Mr. A is also corrupt. You understand?
Right.
And it's not.
Let me just take it from there. So you were actually
to start with,
shaking
not
your
that we
head
have
saying no.
problem of corruption. We still have problem of corruption, you know, in such magnitude that we have always had it. So we don't need to deceive ourselves. And no country or no serious society should use corruption as the reason why the ordinary man, the ordinary people, you know, will find it difficult to feed. You must remember that the basic responsibility of any state is the security and welfare of the people. Now, let's take it from here. At 59, are we better than we were 20 years ago from where it started from? In between 1999 and now, this country at the point in time was rated as the best economy in Africa, had so many positive ratings. We eradicated polio. We did, you know, made a lot of impact, you know, bringing us to the fore globally. Can we say that this country is as secured as it was in 1999? It is capital no. When you talk about corruption being the bane of our inability to provide infrastructure, to provide basic healthcare, to provide, you know, education, are we saying that, oh, now that in the last 4 years that we have been fighting corruption, so to put it, in the way that Nigeria has never fought it, have we been able to address these core issues? Corruption should not be the main focus of the existence of a state. Corruption is it? Okay, have we been able to eradicate corruption today? And do we now say that until corruption is eradicated?
I need to understand where you are going.
Where I'm going is this: do we now say that if corruption is not eradicated in this country in the next 50 years, that our people will not have access to basic healthcare?
There will be no
because there's still corruption. We say we have corruption.
Okay,
we still have corruption.
We explore all of this.
And nobody's talking about eliminating corruption. I think
Curtis,
you need to have
we have not even been able to minimize it.
Curtis, we explore all of these things because the essence. Okay, let me bust now. We are going on a break. We are going on a break. We explore.
I told you you're entitled to your opinion, but not your facts.
Gentlemen,
Of course.
let's do that. It's the facts that we are going to be looking at the other side of the break. We'll go for a break now and continue the discussion when we return. Stay with us. You're watching Standpoints, and we are x-raying how far Nigeria has gone since 59 years. I've been discussing with Curtis Adigba and Femi Lawson. Curtis Adigba believes that we have so many reasons why we have to celebrate, and Femi Lawson says, no, there are so many things we shouldn't celebrate at the moment. And then we ended on the concept, or that word, or that term, corruption. But you also, you disagreed with him that it is not only corruption, and that other things that are facing Nigeria, which we need to take out. How do you respond to some of the things he put up?
Look, I agree that other than corruption, there are other issues. But don't forget that these issues are byproduct of corruption. And he is saying corruption is not a problem. So I want him to tell us how corruption enables development and to give us an example of countries where corruption holds sway and they are doing excellently well. Here's the point.
Okay, you're already through a question.
You cannot eliminate corruption completely, but you need to combat corruption and take it down to the barest minimum. He talked about China. He talked about the U.S. Do you know how many people have been jailed and are going to jail for corruption in the United States? In a country like China, there is even capital punishment for corruption when you are caught. Are you saying that those things don't have impact? on how corruption is dealt with,
Okay.
or how people
Okay,
view corruption?
let him answer the question.
See, my point is this. You see, going back to where we started from, have we been able to make any progress? I said no. Why no? Now, except you want to agree with me that we have not been able to combat corruption even in the last 5 years.
No, I won't agree with you.
Because
And
if you want to,
let him speak.
The point is this: if you want to say that we have been able to combat corruption over the last 4 or 5 years,
We are
then
fighting,
there
not
must
combating.
have been positive impact on the other side on our development. If you insist that the corruption that is the impediment to our development, now that we have been able to curb corruption, so to put it, if we cannot eliminate it over the last 5 years, what are the gains we have made in terms of infrastructural development? What are the gains we have made in terms of our national security? What are the gains we have made in terms of education over the last 5 years? Nothing. We have even gone backward economically.
So are you saying, in a nutshell,
it is not the question of corruption.
in a nutshell,
It is the question of the competency of the character of our leadership. It is the question of the commitment
Right.
of our leaders to issues that have to do with the ordinary people.
You mentioned
Not
the
really
issue.
about
Let
how
me
much,
comment.
corruption is
You mentioned the
dealing
issue of
with the system.
you mentioned the issue of insecurity. You said it's not only corruption; that other things are also a factor to it. And then you said leadership is the problem.
It's key.
Now, do you think, or according to what has been said and what we see, that the way Boko Haram was in the previous years before this current administration is still the same thing we are facing?
I watched on national TV here, on TVC only few, doing one of your network news, one of your feature in the National Assembly, when I saw a member of House of Representatives representing a federal constituency claiming that his home state, his primary constituency, is currently being occupied by Boko Haram. Good. Between 2015 and now, the government has invested a lot in tackling the menace of Boko Haram. But the truth is that we have not been able to defeat Boko Haram like some government functionaries want to make us to believe. I travel a lot, of course. I've been to Maiduguri, Adamawa in the last 2 years alone on a number of occasions. And I can tell you confidently that what you see here and what you read in most cases are not this. The truth is that 7 p.m. today in Maiduguri, a lot of us are already indoors.
All right,
and you begin to talk about what gain have we made. How different is that from what we had pre-2015?
Right.
The situation is virtually still same, and even worse in some places.
Okay, you've made your point.
Only this morning, report had it that
you've made your
only
point.
3 villages are currently being occupied by indigents.
All right,
In
Femi
Chibok
Lawson.
local
Femi
government,
Lawson,
every other villages have
we
been
don't have
vacated.
enough.
Boko Haram
We don't have enough
they're
time.
taking over.
Let me come to Curtis. Femi Lawson believes that we really have not done so much in terms of insecurity, that we're still faced with so many challenges as regards that. Do you think we've made achievements in fighting insecurity in this country?
We have, and we are continuing to make strides in fighting insecurity. You see, what people don't understand is that insecurity is a product of the interactions of factors that impact directly on people's life. Insecurity has got to do with the economy. I made the point some time ago that, look, every successful society stands on 3 pillars: the state, the market, and the community. How these pillars interact,
Right.
could have an uplifting effect on the society or destroys the society. Now, we have a country where successful governments over the years didn't look after our communities, okay? And these communities, what you see, insecurity, the crime of kidnapping and all that, are byproducts. And why couldn't they look after the communities? It was because of corruption. People just go into government for the sake of looting the public resources. Now, he's talking about insecurity has not improved.
All right.
Look, the reality of the matter is that we live in a country, in this same Nigeria, where people couldn't even stay in the state capital, the capital of the country, which is Abuja.
Let us
Today
take
we are
it.
now living in a country
Let
where
us take it
people cannot
further.
freely travel from Lagos
There are
to
so
Ibadan.
many issues.
These
that
are-
really, let's take it further. There are so many issues.
yeah.
There are so many issues that we really need to quickly talk about before we call it a wrap on the program. And other people will say military incursion is another thing that has caused this problem, a setback. Do you also think so? Because in 1963 Constitution, it shows that we practiced regionalism. And that's why some are saying we ought to go back to restructuring this country. So this same military incursion has really caused a setback. Do you see that as a dominoes effect on what we're experiencing today?
It was a major setback, not only on where we are, not only as it's reflected in where we are today, but even our nationhood as a whole. And to really erase the cancerous effect that the military interregnum has placed upon this country, to really erase those years the military came and practically bastardized all our system, and which is of course still reflective in what we even call democracy today, where the rule of law is nothing, no regard for the rule of law, our institutions
and so on
are,
and so forth.
and so on. So I think we must return to the question of restructuring. And when we talk about restructuring, it does not necessarily mean that we have to return this country to regionalism like it was pre-military incursion. I think we must sit back and look at, even under the federal system of government that we currently practice, how we can make it a truly federal system of government where each state, each component body are empowered as it should be under a truly federal system. Because when we talk about restructuring, people easily want to ascribe it to trying to balkanize the country, returning. But I think it is not. We must look at how to make this country, and I think there was a template, very effective one, for anybody who has taken his time or our time to read the 2014 National Conference report. You understand that we would have had about 70% solution to some of the challenges that we're having today if we have adopted it.
Okay, so part of some of the things why you say this is a country that we have to be proud of, as against the naysayer will say we'll never get there. Are there other things you think we should put in place, we should focus on, so as to make sure that Nigeria stands tall in the midst of all nations?
Okay, you know what? I read a book years ago that said, titled Culture Matters. The culture of a people is the sum total of their values. And we can have all the fantastic, brilliant ideas, but if you don't have people with the right culture and values to translate them into reality, you'll still be moving around the cycle. For him...
In a nutshell, you're agreeing with him
no,
that...
No, let me make my point.
Leadership is also a factor.
Let me make my point. And I think the concept of leadership in Nigeria is also a defective one. Because
how do you mean?
Because in the sense that we think that the leaders of this country are those that hold political offices alone. And so we, as leaders in our own rights, keep doing the wrong things and expect that those magical figures who occupy the seats of government will do everything around and turn it around for us. And that's where...
They have a responsibility to do that. You and I are not elected, but they are elected.
Look, I was here when you were talking.
And a lot of times they are paid to do this job.
I was here when you were talking.
Let him make his point. Make your
point. The mere fact that someone was paid to do a job does not make him an automatic leader. Okay? But what I'm saying is that there is what is called self-governance. A leader cannot ensure that every Nigerian comply with the basic decent rules of society. Your governor is not going, the Lagos State governor is not going to stop you at traffic light and ensure that you comply with the traffic light.
What is the point you're making with that?
The point I'm trying to make is that, look, we as citizens, we have all got responsibility to our country. And it's only when we can do it well that we can hold those that we have elected to govern us, hold them to a specific standard. Right. Now, what we have is that once people get into public offices, then the rest of the citizens have abandoned everything to them. Okay. Even when we are not even performing our own, living up to our own responsibility as citizens. And so it's very easy to say, this...
Okay, we are actually coasting on. Your final thoughts on this.
I don't belong to this school.
Do you still believe in this country, Nigeria?
I believe so much in Nigeria, absolutely. I have no other country. I believe so much. I have put a lot into this country, and I continue to put into it. But I'm not of the school of thought that blames Nigerians for the woes of this country. A lot are expected from our leaders. Nigerians are fantastic people. When they get good leaders, Nigerians do well. And I think we must stop blaming Nigerians, even when people who are expected to lead by example are not leading. Today you find even policemen driving against traffic.
We've got to go.
The citizens of Nigeria are fantastic.
The leaders that were elected in Nigeria are not from Ethiopia. They are not from Gabon.
But they should be responsible.
Listen, they came from Nigeria. And what you see them do is the predominant value of the Nigerian people.
No, it's not.
The point is made. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this on the other side of the program. Thank you so much. Curtis Adigba is a public affairs analyst, and also Femi Lawson. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Really appreciate it. It's a wrap on Standpoint. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Bye now.